Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Racha Kudash. Barakatah. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is a response to who is the daughter of Babylon. I was surprised by the answer Google gave me. And this is the video that Elder Apostle Gabar did last night or yesterday. And I was watching the video, and the very first thing I noticed was a timestamp, on on the video. It's 47 minutes and 13 seconds long. And the first thing that came to mind was Isaiah 47:13. And I wasn't sure, but I was thinking, well, is that the one about the council? And sure enough, that's exactly what it is. Isaiah 47:13. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And Elder Apostle Gabar here, he posted a question, is who is the daughter of Babylon, on on Google. And it came out and straight up said America. And that's absolutely correct. Now, through the Spirit, we've been teaching that for the longest. The elders before us, they were teaching that, before any of us woke up, so these devils know that America is Babylon the Great. Only individuals that really that the Spirit is not working with will say that Babylon the Great is the Vatican. When you read the book of Revelation, and you see the characteristics and the things that Babylon the Great would be doing, the influences, the money making, the shipping of goods back and forth across the oceans and all of that, how the nations are being made rich by this place, Babylon the Great. It's impossible to identify Babylon the Great as being the Roman Catholic Church, because the Roman Catholic Church does not have influence on all nations on the planet Earth. Now, you do have Roman Catholic Church beliefs among all these different nations, or not all of them, but a good portion of them, but they're not making the nations rich. Everybody doesn't believe in the Roman Catholic Church, because you have many different other religions out there that do not hold to the tenets of the Roman Catholic Church. Islam being one of them, Buddhists, Hinduism, and many others. All right. So it only makes sense that America is Babylon the Great, and the Edomites, which will be the last rulers on the planet Earth, are the modern day Babylonians. It tells us that in the book of Psalms 137 chapter, where it calls the Edomites the daughter of Babylon. And that's not coincidental. That's truth, because at the end of the day, there would be a new Babylon the Great, and the Edomites, who were the last rulers on the planet before our Lord Yahushua comes back, would be ruling that particular empire. And this is why the Lord said when he comes back, he's coming back to visit, the Edomites. So let's go to Isaiah 47. This is a very good chapter. It's not really a hard chapter to break down. It's a prophetic chapter. It's not a hard chapter to break down. And it's pretty straightforward, and this says here, lament for Babylon. Now, all throughout the book of Isaiah, there's different chapters that speak about the downfall of Babylon. This Babylon the Great, the future of Babylon the Great, how it's going to be destroyed, comparing them, speaking about the king of Babylon, which would be it's the puppet ruler in charge. Well, I shouldn't even say in charge, because that's an oxymoron. The puppet ruler that's in place, which would be the American presidents, that these, so-called elite bankers have in place, and they get their marching orders from the elite. and the ones that they put in charge. Because I watched about an hour of it last night. The Michael Moore documentary that came out in 2009, I believe, something about a love story. And pretty much he was going into the economy and how things were booming at one time and how it just started to fall, through, the different presidents, Jimmy Carter, and then especially Reagan. They said when Reagan came in, because first they didn't mention, that I know of, he didn't mention Woodrow Wilson. He was the first one. Then, you had FDR, he put more teeth in it, to, destroy the economy. Then you had, Nixon, you had Jimmy Carter, and then you had Reagan. And they say once Reagan came into, office, he pretty much signed everything over to the corporations and made America to be run as a corporation, which America is a corporation. There was a movie called The Interpreter where you had Nicole Kidman and some Hamite-looking dude on a bus, and they were discussing nations. He said there are no more nations anymore, only corporations. And that is the truth. Everything you see now is nothing more than a corporation. And all of these what do corporations usually do? They either grow, or they fall, or they merge. And you're seeing all of these different corporations merging into one, which is the plans of the illuminated ones, the so-called New World Order. So Isaiah 47:1, because America is in that top position, even though they're losing that status slowly but surely because the Lord is bringing them down, they are still in that top tier. Their military, their economy, everything is still up in that top tier. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. So the first thing we take out of here is the virgin daughter of Babylon, because America is the daughter of Babylon. You have Babylon, you have the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which is a part of Babylon, but you have the virgin daughter of Babylon. And America would be the virgin daughter of Babylon because they mimic everything that the ancient Babylonian Empire, kept. Like their customs. What do you think Christmas comes from? Christmas didn't come, out of America. Columbus didn't bring Christmas with him, so to speak. Christmas it goes all the way back to the ancient the actual ancient Babylonians, which were the Cushites. You had Nimrod, you had his mother Semiramis, and their son Tammuz, so on and so forth. All of that goes back to those customs, and many other things that they keep. So the reason why it says come and sit in the dust represents what? Confusion. And the confusion part is you're living in a lofty position. You're a sovereign living in a lofty position. You're kings and princes and queens and princesses. And then you have your nobles, so on and so forth. Once they're taken out of rulership, you're going into confusion. You're going into a low state. And that's where Esau is heading to. That's where this virgin daughter of Babylon is heading to. All you gotta do is research that, brother. I'm not gonna really waste my time doing a lesson on GPT chat. It's all the same shit. It's all digital. You could just do the research on that. I mean, if the spirit moves me, I'll do something on it. But that's not really, I mean, you know what I mean? It's not really that important. All that we need to know is prophecy. And prophecies dictating that everything is going digital, and that's dealing with the currency, And the main thing that we need to deal with and focus on is this MOTB, which is, the micro CHIP, and the finance and the direction that the finances of the world are going, the economies of the world. That's the main thing, because then when that happens, then we know, because all this AI and chat GPT or whatever, all that stuff, it's all part of the grid, but the main thing is what? The economy. This is what we focus on, because once the economy switches over to this digital currency thing, then eventually what's going to happen is that's what's going to mandate, the people to have to take it, and then they will be in that situation to whether they either have to take it or live off grid, So it says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. In other words, get off of your throne, sit on the ground, see, because you're not going to be in that lofty position. This is why it says in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, right, and 12, which these wacky-tacky Christians erroneously used it to say that Satan was kicked out of heaven. And that's a gross breakdown, a blatant violation of scripture. To say that Satan, one of the sons of the Most High, one of the angels of the Most High, was kicked out of heaven. And that's bullshit, because the Heavenly Father creates both sides. You have the right side and you have the left side, the righteous side and the wicked side. So this in Isaiah 14 and 12, it's a representation of those that are in power, that have the light or the wisdom, to be illuminated. And that's pretty much what the word Lucifer means: light bearer, light bringer, light carrier. And this is why in Ezekiel 28, it speaks about, them being, proud and defiled by their wisdom and by their knowledge. By their wisdom and by their riches, So how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Right? Heaven, in this case, is talking about a condition. And what does it mean, how art thou fallen from heaven? Meaning, how are you falling from that lofty position? Yahushua cursed out the city of Capernaum. He said that they were in a heavenly state, and they pretty much were going to be brought down to a lowly state, down to hell, meaning to a grave state. All right? Oh, Lucifer. Now, when you look up the word Lucifer, it comes from the Hebrew Hayalal. It also comes from the Greek Iosforos, and they both mean light bringer or light carrier. And this is like a title, for these so-called international banking families. Excuse me. It's no coincidence that they called themselves the Illuminati at one time. It's no coincidence that going back to the 1500s with Ignatius Loyola, they call themselves the Alumbrados, which is a Spanish way of saying Illuminati. Lucifer is the same thing. Now here it has the Lucifer as a proper name, and Lucifer is not a proper name. Lucifer is a title, so it should have been a small case L, not a uppercase L. When you go into the Latin, to the Spanish and other translations, the L is small case because it's not a proper name. It's a title. So, O Lucifer, O light bringers, how are you fallen from heaven, son of the morning? Right, because they are the bringers of the light. Even though the light that they're bringing is on the left-hand side, they're still the bringers of the light. How art thou cut down to the ground? So we're reading the same exact thing that we're reading in the book of Isaiah. And here is just calling them Lucifer, right? And even when you look up, I believe when you look up the word Lucifer, here it says that it was referring to the king of Babylon. All right. It says, how art thou cut down to the ground, which did is weaken the nation? So you fell from that lofty position. So what we're reading in Isaiah 47:1, as it says, lament for Babylon, this is the lamentations that are being taken for Babylon the Great. Now remember, the nations are going to be lamenting for her. Why? Because they're not going to be able to make any more money. So come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground. There is no throne. Why? Because the throne is going to be snatched away from you. This is why Yahushua is called King of Kings and Lord of Lords. O daughter of the Chaldeans. So they're the virgin daughter of Babylon and the daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the wise men, the top wise men of the so-called of the Babylonians. Like today, you have the so-called Illuminati. One of their top councils is what? Their Council of 13, which are the 13 top witches and warlocks on the planet. So the Chaldeans would be compared to the top, witches or the top magi's of the Babylonian Empire at the time. All right. It says, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate, right? Because you see how these, when you in a royal position, you're in a tender, delicate situation. Your nails are always done. You're always, your hair is never out of place. Your attire is fire. Inside joke for the bishop. You got the bishop's name in your mouth. There's nothing out of place. They'll carry you everywhere you go. You don't have to even, step your feet on the ground. So you're not going to be called that tender and delicate place anymore. You're not going to be called that tender virgin, because now your ass is old and busted, decrepit, and you're about to be taken down. So it says, take the millstone and grind meal, right? Because at one time, eventually they're going to go into slavery, captivity. Royalty doesn't work. So they're going to go from that royal status to peasant status, And at one time, even in that documentary, Love Story, I believe it's called, something like that, with Michael Moore, or whatever his name is, they brought out how at one time, one salary for the family was good enough, and the wife, if she wanted to, she could work, but she didn't have to, because they could live and survive off of that one income. The job security was there. The pensions were there, everything was there. But then after a while, what happened? The money started to decline. Inflation started to shoot up because of the devaluing of the money. Therefore, both parents had to work. They had to bring in two incomes. Sometimes they even had to take extra jobs just to be able to survive. So take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg. And at one time, America was supposedly founded upon the so-called, what they quote unquote Christian principles, and the women would be covered up because that is biblical. Women's supposed to be covered up. She ain't supposed to be bearing her breasts, having the cleavage showing, having the ass poking out, having her legs out, wearing mini skirts, At one time, even when they would wear, when they would go to the beach and wear so-called bikinis, they were still covered up. But then as time progressed, they started to be more and more degenerate, and they started to show more and more flesh. Even in the movies, they wouldn't do that, But then eventually it started getting worse and worse, to where you see what's out there now, total degeneracy. This is one of the reasons why they call America, the mother of harlots. And actually the abominations of the earth, because the mother of harlots is a representation of them allowing you to be able to worship whatever you want. But abominations of the earth, that's a part of it. Confusion. It says, uncover the thigh, pass over the river, right? And this is pretty much physically talking about them having to work, but it's also a metaphor for them being exposed. That glory that they had at one time, the golden city, oh wow, everybody was all in awe of America. Now everybody's starting to see what's really behind the curtains. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, and that's what's happening. They're starting to be revealed for who they are. So much so that the elder Apostle Gabar typed in on Google. I'm gonna do it. Check it out. Paste. Go. Boom. America, the daughter of Babylon, deals with the prophetic future of the United States of America. The Bible reveals that there will be a second nation of Babylon, which is described in detail throughout Scripture and can be identified as America. And we've been bringing this out through the Spirit, beginning with our elders before us, all the way into this very day. But just like in everything else, the prophets never really get any credit for anything. But now that it's blatant and evident, everybody's an expert now. Everybody, yeah, America, yeah. You didn't know? They didn't go up there and tell you? You didn't know? Are you shocked? Is this a surprise to you that America's Babylon the Great? We've been known that. But that's all right, because regardless of whatever the case may be, the truth is coming out. You know, and at the end of the day, this is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's program anyway. So if anybody should get the credit, it should be them. So, going back, Isaiah 47:3, that nakedness shall be uncovered. And this is the first step of the destruction of Esau. Yeah, I said it like that on purpose. All right. 2 Thessalonians, as the high priest Isaiah used to say it, 2 Thessalonians 2:8, it says, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord Yahweh, B'Shem Yahushai, shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So it's saying here, thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yea, thy shame shall be seen, because the first step is revelation. We're in the sentencing stage right now. And the second step is what? And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So the Lord is revealing them and eventually will destroy them. It's a two-part deal. You know, it's a two-piece with a biscuit, you know, and honey. Then it goes on to say, I will, after they get discovered, I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. This is the vengeance part, the destruction part. So you see how Isaiah 47:3 and 2 Thessalonians 2:8 go hand in hand? You see? Because that's how you break the scriptures down, precept upon precept. A shalom to if there's any apostles, bishops, elders, brothers out there, shalom Benji. Habakkuk 2:14, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. And this is twofold. This is talking about right now the knowledge of the Lord is being broadcasted throughout the four corners of the earth. But also when the Lord comes back, the glory of the Lord will be up in the heavens and everyone will see, our eyes shall see him. All right. So let's go back. Isaiah 47:4, because the Lord says it will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. And this is the only way to salvation. You're not going to get salvation through financial means. You're not going to get salvation through prepping means. You're not going to get salvation by going off the grid means. You're not going to get salvation by doing anything else, but by coming through Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, being a part of the elect. You know, because although you have Jakes out there that I personally like, you know, they do very good videos. You know, you have one of them is Mike from the RTD Rethinking the Dollar. I think he's a very sincere brother. You have the brother, I'm not sure the brother's name, the Angry Prepper. He seems like a very sincere brother. You know, I like both of those brothers. But the thing is that they're not thinking scripturally. Even though Mike is, you know, a Christian, but he's the Christian that, you know, accepts everybody and anybody, you know, and he doesn't really understand. And brothers try to tell him, but he's so locked into what he's locked into that he doesn't really see the bigger picture, you know, because they're too concerned with things of this world. But that's their lot. And if they happen to be a part of the elect, the Lord will deliver them, you know. But I personally happen to like them because they seem to be very sincere brothers, you know. So it says 47:5, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, right? Because you spewing that bullshit that you spew, you know, you've caused a lot of friction, a lot of problems on the planet Earth. So the Lord saying, shut your mouth, hoe, and get thee into darkness. Yeah, because you're no longer going to be that beacon of light to the world, you know, that gives that abominable cup to these nations, to the leaders of these nations, to give to the rest of their people. You know, because you have had your run. You have had, you know, the opportunity to fulfill your lot, to fulfill what you were supposed to fulfill. But now the Most High is done with you. You're finished. So Revelation 17:2, it says, matter of fact, I started 1, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And the reason why the Lord called her a great whore, because a whore sells her body for, you know, for gain. And this is a metaphor for America. America is the same way as a whore is. You know, they sell their body for money, and this is what America does. It says that sitteth upon many waters, and these many waters are a representation of these all these nations and peoples and tongues that are in bed with America. But you got to understand that it's not the majority of the population of the world that's in bed with America directly. It's their leaders from these different nations that are in bed with America directly. And indirectly, they're in bed through their leaders. It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now, we know that there's not really many kings left on the planet, right, that call themselves kings. But the kings here are a representation of their leaders, the ones that are in charge. And it's no coincidence that the United Nations building is set up and established here in America, in New York, the Excelsior State. Now they're saying that it's a separate district, from the everything else. Nevertheless, it's still on the soils of America. There is a monolith, which is a one stone building built there. And who comes there? All nations come there, but who are the all nations that come there? The leaders of these nations meet there in America, in the United Nations building, hammering out policies in America for the future plans of the world. So the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and then the inhabitants have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication, because the leaders of the nations give it to their peoples, and their peoples have been made drunk because of the intoxicants given to them by their leaders. So they indirectly are drinking that wine and committing fornication with it. This is why when you go to all these different nations, when people leave a particular place and they go somewhere, they get homesick because they don't see their loved ones, and they don't see, the things that they see in their home. They don't eat the foods that they have in their home, because they're in a different place. But when you come to America, or when you go from America to these other nations now have everything mirrored like America. So if you have certain dishes that you ate here, the only thing you would miss would be the faces of your relatives and friends. But everything else is the same. So you feel like you're still at home, even though you might be in Singapore or in China or Japan or wherever the case you may be. Because all nations have been drinking of that wine, and they've been made drunk, and their peoples have been made drunk. So Isaiah 47:5 says, sit thou silent and get thee in darkness. So shut your mouth hole. Why? Because you had that cup. You brought that cup to the world. But guess what? The Lord is finished with you. Jeremiah 51:7, Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand. See? So Babylon, America, Babylon the Great, she is that golden cup. And that golden cup came directly from the Lord to her to give to the nations that made all the earth drunken, because everyone on the planet is influenced by America. You see? It says the nations have drunken of a wine. Yeah, because they've partaken with it. Therefore, the nations are mad. Why? Because now they're seeing the repercussions of it. They're seeing the downfall of it. They're seeing that it looked good at the beginning. It sounded good at the beginning, but the after effects is no good. It's just like when you drink too much and the next day you wake up with a fucked up hangover. It don't feel good. But at the moment, it seemed everything was, party. You was a party animal. Shit, you was drinking hanging off a chandelier, shaking your rump, doing back spins and head spins, tearing the dance floor up. But then the next day it was like, oh Lord. So that's how these nations feel now that they've partied with America, Oh Lord. So it says, sit thou silence and get thee into darkness. Why? Because the Most High is finished with you. Babylon is suddenly fallen. This is Jeremiah 51:8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Why? Because this is the sentence and the judgment upon them. It's to fall and to be destroyed. And notice every once in a while, certain words will be thrown in there. Suddenly, in a moment, in 1 hour. Because it's not going to take long. When Yahweh Shai comes back, he's going to make easy work of this place. This is why the nations are going to be scared. They're going to want to run, but the Lord is going to put the spirit in them to fight, you know? Because there's no fun beating up on somebody that ain't fighting back, you know? When you beating somebody's ass, you know, you want them to fight. You want a challenge. You know, you don't want somebody that's going to lay down and let you whoop on them. They're whooping you, Buster. They're making you walk their walk. So Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain, if so she may be healed. Right. Because this is the ancient way of healing things. Taking balm, you know, putting certain type of ointments, certain herbs, and, you know, and mollifying, you know, ointments and putting it, you know, on a bruise, you know, or taking it internally, you know, but there's nothing that they can do to get America out of this situation. And the thing that makes it so incredible and so great is that they think, these international banking families think that everything is going according to their plans and that they're collapsing the economies of the world on their dime, on their time. But it's really the Lord doing this, because man's goings are of the Lord. Because this is what's going to bring about the new change, or the reset, or the build how does that go? Build back better. I'm trying to say like the better, like how the Australians say it. You know, so they're trying to build back better, but that building back better is pretty much going to destroy them, because that's going to give them the infrastructure that they want to get their MOTB in place, which is a micro CHIP, but that's going to be their downfall. That's what the Lord said, that he has them in slippery places. It says, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. Right? Because their time has come. You know, they have been weighed in the balance, and they have been found wanting. So now it's time for them to go down. Now it's time to say goodbye. So back in Isaiah 47:5, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the what? The Lady of Kingdoms. And this is what America has been. She has been the Lady of Kingdoms. Now, when you go back to Isaiah 14, right? There's a part here in the 4th verse. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased, that beacon of light. But when you go into this, right, golden city, the word there is Madahabah. Right here it says boisterous, right? Because remember, the Lord said he's going to shut her mouth. Raging behavior, boisterous behavior, right? And this place is rude. You know, this is like one of the most rudest places in the earth. And it's no coincidence that New York is the rudest. The people in New York could be the rudest out there on the planet. Excelsior, I mean, everything of this place reeks, you know, of Babylon the Great. You know? Now, but here it says what? Golden city. Then it says what? Exactness of gold. You know, in the other, the margin, or in the center of the red Bibles and other Bibles, it says exactress of gold. And what does that mean? They're taking the gold from people, but they're giving them things that are of no value. This is why the French, you know, back, you know, in the late 60s into actually around 70, 71, they say, you know what? We got all this worthless paper. We've been giving these devils all this cheese and wine, We want our money now. We want our gold. And this is why Nixon was directed by the Fed, to stop, the gold standard. There's a lot of history, man. So the exactness or the exactress of gold. All right. So thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms, because they thought that they would be able to rule forever. Let's go to Revelation 18. Wow. Let me click on this because our Lord's will, we're going to get back to that. But right here, Revelation 18:7. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. So this Revelation 18, Revelation 17, Isaiah 47, Isaiah 14, they all merge together. Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, they all merge together. And these are scriptures we've been bringing out, our elders before us, we've been bringing out for years. Even so that you had something called the Prophecy Club. I'm not sure if they still have that. You had Stan Johnson. He was a member, and he used to preach their sermons. One time he went into preaching saying that, America is Babylon the Great. And he quoted a handful of scriptures that we always go into. And we've never heard these other people go into them scriptures like that. Not saying that nobody ever did, but not the way that he brought them out, and the way he quoted them in succinction, if that's even a word, succinctly. He was watching Great Millstone. So let's go back. Let me see something. I just want to check something real quick. Glorified doxaso deliciously. Right. Okay. But let me go and click this other one. All right. Boom. Let me just check something real quick. Okay. Same thing. All right. So let's go back to Isaiah 47. Isaiah 47:6. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, right, and given them into thine hand. This is why, Judah, the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel both fell into what? The hands of Esau. First, in the late 1400s to the Spaniards, the northern kingdom fell into their hands. And then not too long after that, the southern kingdom started being brought over here. And what did they do? Thou didst show them no mercy. Now all of a sudden you have this, I don't know if he's a tear or what, this Jake, I forget his name. He's an older dude that says that, slavery, it was really Edomites that were in slavery. It wasn't Jake that was in slavery. Now all of a sudden, all this information is coming out. Now all of a sudden, Christopher Columbus is a black man. The people that really wanted to slavery were all white people. Wasn't no black people that wanted to. All kind of madness. These Ishmaelites that took over Egypt. I believe that was 642 A.D. After Islam came, into power after 600 A.D. Now they had a attitude because they portrayed Cleopatra as being a black woman, and really Cleopatra is really a Edomite woman. She's really a white woman, and they're having a problem with it because they're saying that she was depicted as a black woman, but she wasn't Ishmael. She was a Edomite because she came from the direct line of the Ptolemies, and the Ptolemies were Edomites. These were Alexander the Great's generals. They were of the same people, the same race. Then they have a problem now because they're painting Tutankhamun as being a so-called black man, which the actual Egyptians were so-called black. But these same individuals, they got a problem. Look, you conquered that land. It's just like Esau today that conquered America, saying that they're Indian, that they're North American Indian. Motherfucker, you ain't the North American Indians. You're Edomites that took over land. If you take over land, that doesn't mean that you are those people. I don't give a damn how much you say that you are. But that's what they're doing now. You know? So these, Ishmaelites, they got a problem, with that history. They better go back and check their history. You weren't living there. You took over. You conquered that land. It's just like the Ottoman Turks. They conquered Turkey. They conquered Constantinople. Constantinople was renamed Istanbul, Turkey, which was the capital at one time. Now they move it to Ankara, I believe it is, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, And it's just like them saying that they were the original Christians. You were not the original Christians. You're Ottoman Turks that came into that land. You embraced the religion of Islam, and you conquered the Christians that were there, and now you live there. But that doesn't make you those people. You're not the original Christians. So these people that are in the land of Egypt today, they're not the original people or inhabitants of Egypt. So it's like a whole mix-up. So thou didst show no mercy upon the ancients, have thou very heavily laid thy yoke, right? And they even showed you in that movie, what was the name of that movie that just came out? Emancipation, was it? With Will Smith played, they called him Whip Peter. I believe it was Emancipation. And they showed you in that movie how you had an older Jake that was working and he just dropped dead. And they didn't give a shit. When the Spaniards came over here to America, they would work the Tainos in those mines, those gold mines, until they dropped dead, 24 hours a day, till they dropped dead, mining gold and whatever they can get. So these devils didn't show no mercy. So the scriptures say, you shall have judgment without mercy that have showed no mercy. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever. Right. And it keeps on saying this, I shall be a lady forever. You shall not be called the lady of kingdoms anymore. You're not going to have that great influence that you've had in the past. So that thou didst not lay these things to heart. Right. So you convince yourself that you were this grandiose, these royal people. You did not lay these things to your heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. You see? You didn't remember that eventually you're going to have to pay. And even the parable of the unjust judge even said that. Why does widow keep messing with me and she's pissing me off? Ain't the Most High going to, bring vengeance for his elect? Though he bear along with them? It says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures. Pleasures here, delicacies in the book of Revelation. Like, let's look up this word pleasures. Let's look up this word pleasures. The word there is idayon, which goes back to the Hebrew word idan, which means paradise or joy. And that was the name of the earth when it was first created. Idan. And then there was a garden planted eastward in Idan or Eden. All right? That's where the Garden of Eden was. Today would be known between the Nile River from Egypt all the way up until the Euphrates in that region there. But mainly in the place where you have the land of Israel, Palestine and all that right there. Boom. That was all the Garden of Eden. That's why when Abraham and Lot, their cattle and their servants were so much that they had a beef because they had a hard time feeding and watering the flocks. So there was like arguments breaking out, probably fist fights. And Abraham said, listen, we're going to resolve this. Look where you want to go, wherever you want to go. Whatever way you go, I'm going to go the opposite way. And he looked towards the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, saw that it was well watered, all the greenery, and he went that way. And this is how Lot ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah, and there was that area down there. So all of that land has a lot of vegetation. It's cursed now because the people of the Lord are not in their land, but it's going to go back to that and even greater. So I done voluptuous, voluptuous is curvaceous and sexually attractive. That's dealing with women that are voluptuous. They got them big tatas. But here it says relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure. And that's what we read about in the book of Revelation when we go to Revelation 18:3, right? It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of a fornication. Everything interlinks. Isaiah 47, Isaiah 13, Isaiah 14, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Revelation 17, Revelation 18. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her what? Delicacies. Everybody ain't going to the Roman Catholic Church to the Vatican over there to get rich off of ships. Everybody's coming to America to get rich off of ships. You go to the word delicacies. The word delicacies, as we looked at the other word, is strenos, which is excessive strength, which longs to break forth, overstrength, luxury. See, eager, desire. And when you go down to the '14th verse, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things that were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. And when you look up the word dainty, it goes into, of course, lipos, which is fat, that diet, that horrible American diet. And then the word the word goodly is synonymous with pleasures. The word lampros, cold lamping, shining, brilliant, clear, transparent, splendid, magnificent, splendid things. An example, luxuries or elegancies in dress or style. And you have fashion designers from all over the world that sell their wares here. You have 7th Avenue called Fashion Avenue, I believe it's called. If you brothers in New York on the Common Board, if you know the exact phrase for 7th Ave about Kushab, you could post it. Something about the Fashion Avenue or something like that. Matter of fact. Fashion District or Fashion something. Right, Fashion Avenue, I guess that's it. Then you have what's known as a wholesale district. No matter of fact, let me see, 7th Avenue, New York. And let's go to images. Sometimes they'll show you a sign. Like if you look at, they'll show you a sign. Here we go. Right, there you go. Boom. Damn, that wasn't too far from where we used to speak at. Fashion Ave, see? 7th Ave, Fashion Ave. Why is it called Fashion Ave? Because they sell all of these different fashions, And then, you have what's known as a wholesale district. Let's see. Delete New York. Wholesale district. Boom. So there you got your wholesale district, because you have a lot of these stores down there, where you sell, perfumes, and you got wholesale and retail, import, export, You know, you have what, bags. Here you got perfumes. Here you got, well, they even sell t-shirts and luggage and all that. Colognes, they sell everything. You know, here you got another one. You know, you got a jewelry one, cell phones, you know, top quality products. You know, you got all of these different places. Then these are the ones that sell stuff wholesale. They sell, you know, retail. But then when you go into some of these buildings up here around that area, you also have places that they sell bulk. You know, whether it's incense or whether it's clothing or fabrics, you know, different things, jewelry, costume jewelry, whatever. They got it all down there. This is Babylon the Great, people. All right. So voluptuous, which is, as we read here, relating to or characterized by luxury or sensual pleasure. And that's what America is. So when this place goes down, the nations are not going to be able to live like that anymore. See, bright, clear, gay, goodly, and gay not meaning happy, gay meaning, you know, well, happy, you know, not the other happy. Gorgeous. Now the word gorgeous doesn't mean, oh, she's gorgeous, she's a fine, gorgeous. It means bright, you know, splendid. And then it says white because white is what? Bright. All right. So going back to Isaiah 47, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am and none else beside me, I shall not sit a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. And notice how it keeps saying the same thing in Isaiah 47 and in different books of Revelation. But these two things shall come upon thee in what? A moment. You know, before we were reading, you had an hour, you have a moment, you have in an instant, suddenly. You know, life has no meaning to me. Inside joke. In one day, see, one day, and it's going to be 1 hour. What is that? Is that Revelation 9? Or is it Revelation 6? Right. Revelation 9 and 14, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for what? For an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men represents Esau. So this is going to all take place in 1 day and 1 hour. So this place has been what? Prepared. What does it mean when you prepare something? You have a chef. A chef chefs up meals. You know, he's not a cook, he's a chef. He's a professional. He chefs up meal. He chefs up meals, right? He doesn't do any preparation. He just goes and he takes everything that's already placed out there for him, and he takes from this and from that and from this seasoning and that seasoning, and the chicken or the steak or whatever, the carrots, you know, the asparagus, the pommes frites, whatever, right? And he puts it all together, and then he puts it in the oven or whatever the case may be, or puts it in a skillet and hooks it up. All that stuff that's on the table, those are preparations. That is left for the sous chef. The sous chef comes and prepares everything, chops the onions, minces the garlic, juliennes the peppers, butterflies the steaks, washes everything, cleans everything, sets up the measurement of every spice that he needs. He may need some flour or whatever the case may be. He might sift the flour and put everything there all nice and tidy for him. A little bit of olive oil, a little bit of vinegar, whatever the case may be, wine vinegar, rice vinegar. And then when the chef comes in, he's doing is slapping stuff together. All right, he ain't preparing nothing. So this place has been prepared. It's been tailor-made. It's been set up and established to be destroyed. Because even when we go to the 17th chapter of Revelation, we'll get back to that. The 17th chapter of Revelation, I'll start at 9. The point is in 11. Now, this 8th beast is America. Okay? It's not talking about Britain. The eighth beast is America. All right? The seventh is Great Britain. All right, so Revelation 17:9. And here's the mind which has wisdom. So the angel is breaking it down to the Apostle John, even though the Apostle John didn't really fully understand what the vision meant, but he was breaking it down for him. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. 7 heads, 7 mountains. Mountains is a representation of governments on which the woman sitteth, because the woman is sitting on top. This harlot is sitting on top of this great mountain that was established that had 7 heads. Those 7 heads are the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Britain. Those are the 7 major empires of Esau. This is why it says that history began with the Greeks, because the Greeks were the first Edomite nation to rule, the known world at the time. Then after them came the Romans, and you had the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and then ultimately Great Britain. Russia was never a part of that. Then out of that whole union and those empires came America, which is the 8th, which is of all 7. And there are 7 kings, which are rulerships. 5 are fallen, because by the time this was written, the Roman Empire was in power. That's why it says 1 is. So the 5 that were fallen were the Greeks, the Spanish, the French, Germania Major, and Germania Minor, which were under the hand of the Roman Empire, right? The 1 is, which is the Roman Empire, that's 6. And the other is not yet come, which is the 7th one, which is what? That's Great Britain. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space, because their status as a world power and as a global economic power was overshadowed by America in 1944-45, when America, the US dollar, was made the world reserve currency. And that's when America got up there, in over Great Britain. It says, and the beast which that was and is not, even he is the 8th, right? Because the beast that was and is not, when you read up above, that's dealing with America. And it says up here that yet is, because it's going to be in the future. Even he is the 8th. See, so that's the 8th head. So the 8th head is America, and is of the 7, because it came out of all 7 of the union of all 7 of them, and goeth into perdition. So they are prepared. Where were we? They are prepared for that destruction, for that, for perdition. Now let's look up the word prepared here. The word prepared is hetoimazo, to make ready, prepare, see? To make the necessary preparations, get everything ready. So it's been all set up in that way. Everything's been hammered out. And this is why the Lord said when he comes back, he's coming back to visit who? The Edomites. And what did the Lord say about the Edomites? Through the mouth of the Apostle Paul? That they are the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction. So you have the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, tailor-made for destruction. You have the place that was prepared or tailor-made for this destruction that goes into perdition, which is America, which is the catapult, which is the diving board of the New World Order for Esau. Well, you know what, man? Why are you here? Why are you even here? You obviously are a clown, so why are you even here? My goodness. TD Jakes might be on somewhere. You might have a live, bugged out Christian, sermon going on somewhere. Why don't you go there? Maybe they can feed you shit, that'll be pleasing to your ears. So let's get back. So Isaiah 47:9, but these 2 things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. Yeah, because there will be nothing left on the soils of America, Babylon the Great, which even your great Google search engine tells you that America is Babylon the Great. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, meaning they're not going to miss. Everything's going to be perfect. for the multitude of thy sorceries and the great abundance of thine enchantments, which is what? Witchcraft. America was painted as this Christian religion, this Christian nation, which is nothing more than a cheap veneer of Christianity. And they've been established upon the principles of Satanism. All right? Witchcraft. So we look up the word sorceries. The word there is kashap. Kashap. Sorcery, witchcraft. And then when you go deeper into it, it goes into your pharmaceutical industry. Let's go to Revelation 18 again. Let's go down. Revelation 18:23. And the light of a candle it says, where the hell are all these mixed nuts coming from, man? And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, dealing with America when it's destroyed, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, and by thy what? Sorceries were all nations deceived. Now when we go to the word sorceries in this one, we have what? The word pharmakia, which goes back to what? Pharmacy, which are your drugs, which alter the mind, because drugs alter the mind. And that's exactly what these drugs do. This is why people are so fucked up today. The use of the administering of drugs, poisoning, sorcery, magical arts, often found in connection with idolatry and fostered by it. Metaphorically, the deceptions and seductions of idolatry. Right, mixed in with all that other bullshit that they do. So back in Isaiah 47, your sorceries and and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. All right. Matter of fact, let's look up this word enchantments. You know, these are all your sorceries, your ways of putting spells on people. Chabar, association, company, band. Right, because the word chabar means companion. It says shared association, society. In this case, is applied to the union of all of these different witchcraft events and things that they do. A magician, charmer, spell. Right. And by them, they do what? They cast spells on people. That's why it says that when this beast would come back into power, all the world wondered after the beast. You know? You know, all the world wondered after the beast. And that's why the Lord said, if it were possible, they would deceive the very elect. Can't wait for the Lord to open up on these people, man. So you can stop fucking around, stop playing games. You know, think everything is a fucking joke. Right, so it goes on to say, for thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Right, and this is what you're pushing. You made the world believe that you were a Christian nation, but you're nothing more than a bunch of witches and warlocks. With a cheap veneer of Christianity. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, what? It hath perverted thee. And that's where the Lord said he would pour out a perverse spirit in Egypt. And this place is spiritually called Egypt. And this place is perverse. They twist everything that the scriptures say. Now there was a video that just popped up. I didn't even watch it. It was about a little more than about almost 5 minutes long, talking about how they say that homosexuality is justified in the Bible, and the dude had a Bible verse that justified. I didn't even watch that bullshit. You know, everything in this world is perverse. All the scriptures speak against all of the perversions of this world, but they push it in this world as being okay, and they make laws to protect people that follow that lifestyle. So it says, It has perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me, right? Because you think you're the Most High. It says, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it rises, right? Because you think you're in control of things. You think you're in charge. You think that everything is rolling off the conveyor belt of what you built, off of your agenda. But the Lord is going to smack the joystick out of your hand. He's going to smack the remote out of your hand, like Elder Yashwamba says, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off. Why? Because it's going to come directly from the Lord. See, right now he got you in a trick bag, in that slippery place. But then it's going to be evident in that day when the Lord slaps it out of your hand. You're going to be like, oh shit. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly. See? Suddenly, in a moment, in an instant, in an hour, which thou shalt not know. Because you didn't plan for it. You plan for everything else except for that. So now when this happens and you start to fall, stand now with thine enchantments. Stand now with your sorceries. Get your witches, your Council of 13, and your masons and all that to start chanting and set up incantations and start stirring that witch's brew and try to get a spell put on to keep you going. It ain't gonna happen. And with the multitude of thy sorceries, with all of this shit that you've been doing, your satanic high days, your satanic Sabbaths, your Halloweens, your Samhain days, your different, years, your different orgies and child sacrifices that you do to keep this whole thing going, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth, because ever since America was established, from their youth, it was all established upon sorcery. Everybody talk about the forefathers, the founding fathers. They were all a bunch of homosexuals and a bunch of goddamn sorcerers. Or George Washington, George Washington was a Mason. They even have him in Mason regalia. Come on, man. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, right? If so be thou mayest prevail, because you're not going to prevail. The writing is on the wall. You have been weighed in the balance and have been found wanting. Your kingdom has been numbered, and it's time for you to go down. Seeing your days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So you cannot pass the set time that the Lord set up for you. And we're witnessing all of the evident stages, that are happening, that are showing that you're going down. Like your body tells you certain things when something is wrong. It gives you like certain hints and certain clues, letting you know that something is wrong. Well, all of the signs are evident that you're falling. And you're not going to prevail. There's not going to be anything you're going to be able to do to get out of it, but you're going to think that you're going to get out of it. This is why you have these bunkers around the world that you're going to hide in, to try to hide from him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, but you ain't going to be able to hide from the wrath of the Lamb. Because you international banking families, you're going to be, all of you that are up in those high levels, the super rich, you're going to be the first ones that taste of slavery. Because you're going into slavery. It says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels, right? Because you have counsels around the clock of what to do and how to do it. You accomplish a diligent search. There's nothing that's hid from thee. You spare no expenses because you have all the money in the world. You have all the time in the world. It says, let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee, right? Let your stargazers, your prognosticators, all of these individuals that have been telling you that you're going to win, you're going to prevail, so on and so forth. Your New World Order is right on schedule. You're good. You're ahead of schedule. Let them stand up with their enchantments and all that to save you from the things that are about to come. It's in the game. Behold, they shall be as stubble. Why? Because the Lord is going to destroy your New World Order by destroying the diving board of the New World Order, which is America. Totally from East Coast to West Coast, from North to South. All going to be destroyed in 1 hour by the nuclear missiles, hypersonic missiles, and by the chariots of the Lord, the lasers that come out those chariots. The fire shall burn them. And this fire, as it tells us in the book of Job, the 20th chapter, a fire not blown. The iron weapon. What is that iron weapon? The missiles. A fire not blown, because nobody's going to start the fire. Nobody's going to light a match or put some accelerant, some gasoline or whatever on trees and woods and add stuff to it to burn. The Lord is going to set it off. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, right? Because there's nothing you could do. And America is known in the Bible as a land of unwalled villages. You have no defense against these missiles. And even if you have something that you shoot at a missile, a hypersonic missile or a ICBM missile, and let's say your missile hits that missile, that nuclear missile, guess what? It's not going to hurt it, because the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in it, and it's going to still hit what it's going to hit. It's still going to be on target. It says, there shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it, because there will be nothing left here. The scriptures speak about the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness, meaning everything from one place to the other is going to be destroyed in America. The elements shall melt with fervent heat. That fervent heat is the fire from the nuclear missiles. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander everyone to his quarter, none shall save thee. Because all of these nations that are here, that are making money, some of them are going to go back to their homes. The ones that stay here on the soils of America will be finished, dusted off. But the ones that go back to their homes, they're going to be there. They're going to be all right, but they're going to go into slavery. Let me read this that Benji put up. Joel 2:7-8. They shall run like mighty men. This is talking about the missiles. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march everyone on his way, and they shall not break their ranks, right? Because the Lord is going to direct them. The Spirit of the Lord is going to be in these missiles. It says, let me go back. Neither shall one thrust another, right? They shall walk every one on his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. In other words, when another missile hits it, it's still not going to do nothing to it, because the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, because that is the vengeance of the Lord, the cup of his indignation that he's going to pour upon this God-forsaken place. You know? So with that, I pray that you brothers and sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.